Hello there, and welcome to Dreamy Science. I'm so glad you're here. Maybe time felt heavy today, too fast, too slow, too full, or maybe your thoughts are still ticking along, one after another, like seconds falling through your mind. But here, in this quiet space between moments, we let go of clocks. Tonight we drift not through hours, but through the feeling of time itself. Its strange softness, its stretches and pauses, the way it bends in memory and deepens in dreams. Time is not a ruler, it's a rhythm, a hush, a breath. And in this journey, there's nothing to solve and nowhere to be, just breath, rest, and curiosity. If these calm explorations help you unwind, consider liking and subscribing. It helps more quiet minds find their way here, one sleepy soul at a time. A pause between thoughts. The mind softens, and in the stillness between ideas, time stretches like silk. You begin to drift into that space where seconds feel like whispers. It is the space just after an exhale, just before the next thought stirs, a pocket of quiet, suspended, and weightless. Here, awareness opens without reaching. The rush of the day fades into hush, and time no longer presses forward. In this softened pause, you are not required to do or be anything. There is only the gentle sensation of stillness, like mist settling over a calm lake. In this space between mental tides, even memory is quiet. Nothing demands, nothing repeats. The boundaries of now loosen, and you float gently into the folds of your own breath. The moment is not measured, but felt, a hum, a sigh, a drifting openness that holds you like dusk. Time, no longer defined by clocks or tasks, becomes soft and slow as light through gauze. Let yourself stay here in the tender in-between, where time unfolds like petals in slow motion. Here, you are not late, not early, but perfectly placed within the silence of becoming. Time slows in moments of awe, when wonder takes over, a star-filled sky, a sunset's hush. Time loosens its grip, the world expands, breath by breath. In these moments, the ordinary becomes luminous, a vastness opens, both around you and within you, as if the universe leans closer, whispering in the language of light and shadow. Your eyes widen, your breath deepens, and something ancient in you remembers what it means to simply behold, whether it's the sudden arc of a shooting star or the iridescence of a butterfly's wing. Awe rearranges the passage of time. Minutes feel like hours, not because they drag, but because they are full of noticing, full of stillness, full of a reverence that requires no thought. Time becomes a companion rather than a driver, moving gently beside you like a tide that knows it's not in a hurry. You are fully present, absorbed not in doing, but in witnessing. And in that gentle astonishment, the world softens, and your place within it feels quiet, vast, and deeply alive. The brain's clock beats differently in dreams. Time no longer follows the tick of any clock. Minutes dissolve, and hours can pass in the blink of a thought. The rules of sequence vanish, and you move through moments like drifting through veils of starlight. A conversation might stretch for what feels like a day, and then, suddenly, you're standing at the edge of an ocean you've never seen. There is no before, no after, only now, and now bends to the dreamer's breath. Time becomes emotion-colored, shaped by the tempo of longing or joy or quiet fear. You float between memories and imagined futures, places that feel familiar, though they've never been real. And yet, it all unfolds with a logic that needs no explanation. The body rests while the mind walks barefoot across the landscapes of the subconscious. Here, time has no urgency. It is soft and strange and fluid, like fog over water. You awaken unsure how long you've slept, surprised by how much your mind has wandered, how far it has gone without leaving the bed. In dreams, time is not past. It is touched, held, and released like breath in a sleeping room. Childhood summers felt endless. Back then, the days seemed vast and golden, stretching far beyond the horizon. You floated through time without noticing it pass. Mornings melted into afternoons, each one drenched in sunlight and the soft sound of distant sprinklers. Time was not counted, only felt in the warmth of the pavement, the drift of clouds, the hum of insects in tall grass. Each hour offered a new shape, a new secret, a new adventure that didn't need to be planned. You were always barefoot, always curious, always just a little bit lost in the best of ways. Summer didn't arrive or end. It simply unfolded one soft moment after another, like a story without a plot. Even waiting for ice cream or lightning bugs felt like forever, and forever felt delicious. As the sun dipped low and twilight painted the fences lavender, time slowed even more, as if the day itself didn't want to say goodbye. Looking back, those summers stretched longer than they were, wrapped in the golden filter of memory. And even now, if you close your eyes and breathe in that soft, slow air, you can still feel that endlessness, warm, wild, and untouched by clocks. Fear makes time crawl. In moments of danger, every second seems to stretch, each heartbeat loud and slow. The brain sharpens, and time thickens like molasses. Your senses pull into focus, noticing everything: the tremble of a leaf, the sound of your own breath, the shift of light across the floor. Time, once invisible, becomes dense and present, a fabric you can almost touch. It unfolds not in moments, but in frames, like a film slowed to show every detail. In this heightened state, the mind grasps at control, at escape, at understanding. Anything to orient itself. Each second becomes a question. Am I safe? Will this pass? And yet, in that stretching, there's also clarity. Things you'd normally miss become impossible to ignore. The ticking of a clock, the creak of a chair, the pulse in your ears, all amplified. Time doesn't move slower because the world changes, but because your awareness floods the moment, filling it to the brim. Eventually the tension fades, the breath returns, and time resumes its usual current. But in fear, time does not flee. It lingers, it expands, and it holds you in its heavy hand. Flow states suspend. Time, when you're lost in a task you love, hours vanish. Time recedes, replaced by rhythm and focus. The mind aligns with motion, and the world narrows into a single stream of presence, whether you're painting, writing, running, or simply solving something small and absorbing. The usual markers of time fall away. You are no longer glancing at the clock, no longer measuring the day by how much remains. Instead, you move through the moment as if it were music, not needing to know how long it plays, only that it feels right. Distractions soften at the edges. The body cooperates without asking. Thoughts become quieter, more fluid. In this state, there is a gentle joy, not loud but steady, the joy of total immersion. You resurface eventually, surprised at the hour, at the sky that is dimmed, at the tea now cold beside you. But in that space of focus, you are timeless, not absent, present in the truest sense. Flow is where effort and ease blur and time forgets to pass. Why we remember The first time firsts stand out, first steps, first kisses, first snowfalls, because novelty etches deeper in the mind. And where memory deepens, time slows. The unfamiliar demands our attention. Every detail is new, and so the brain records with higher resolution. You remember the chill in the air, the texture of a hand held, the exact color of the sky. These memories are not just stored, but imprinted, bright, vivid, alive. Time feels longer in these moments, not because it is, but because you are fully present. The newness anchors you in the now. It pulls you out of autopilot and into awareness. Later, when you look back, those firsts stretch across memory like lanterns on a dark path. They illuminate stretches of time that would otherwise blur. Even years later, they hold a strange clarity, a pause in the usual flow. And so we cherish them, not only for what they were, but for how they made time slow, how they carved space into our timeline and whispered, "Remember this." Routine speeds time up. Repetition lulls the senses and time slips by unnoticed. The days blend, soft and fast. You wake, work, eat, and sleep in loops so familiar they barely register. The mind, efficient and quiet, moves through the motions without needing to record each one. Time, without newness, becomes light and slippery. A whole week can vanish. Behind the sameness of tasks, the soft blur of predictable moments. It's not unpleasant. In fact, routines can be soothing, a kind of gentle rhythm. But with routine comes a strange amnesia. What happened yesterday feels like it could have happened last month. Without landmarks, memory collapses time into a short, folded shape. This is why childhood feels long and adulthood fast, because the new becomes rare and the familiar takes over. Yet, even in routine, small shifts can awaken the clock, a different path, a new taste, a surprise. These moments expand the day again, but left to its rhythm, routine will always make time run quietly faster. The elasticity of time perception. Time bends with attention. The more you notice, the more you feel. A minute filled with sensation stretches wide. The texture of a blanket, the play of light on a wall, the slow swirl of steam from a cup. Meanwhile, an hour spent distracted can disappear before it's even known. Attention is the hand that shapes time's clay. When you're mindful, the moment expands like breath held in still air. When you rush, it vanishes like mist. This elasticity makes time feel both like a solid river and a shifting breeze. It explains why some days feel long but look short in memory, and others vanish while feeling full. The way you place your awareness, gently or not at all, transforms the shape of every second. And the beauty is, you can return to the stretch, the softness, simply by pausing and noticing. Time doesn't need to be controlled, only witnessed. Emotion alters the tempo. Joy and sorrow are both time shapers. One rushes, the other lingers. A laugh can collapse an afternoon into minutes, while grief can stretch a single day into what feels like years. Emotions saturate time with their own colors. Excitement makes the clock vanish, while waiting in sadness seems to stop it entirely. Love speeds up time when you're together and slows it when you're apart. Anger sharpens the moment. Peace melts it. It's not the clock that changes, it's the heart. Each emotion alters your perception, tinting the moment with its rhythm. You don't just feel joy or sorrow, you feel time differently through them. Some memories are long, not because they were, but because they held so much feeling. And some slip past, light as laughter, because they needed no measure. In emotion, time is not fixed. It is felt fully and deeply, like music held in the chest. Clock, time versus lived time. Clocks measure seconds, but the heart keeps a different beat. The hands move steadily, each tick precise, indifferent, marching on regardless of how you feel. But inside, your experience of time is far less mechanical. Some hours weigh heavy, while others evaporate like dew. The passage of time is shaped not by quartz or gears, but by mood, by memory, by attention. The heart feels time in sighs and silences, in glances and lingering moments. Lived time flows in curves, not lines. A conversation with a dear friend may shrink an evening to a heartbeat, while a silent wait in solitude might feel like a stretch of eternity. The calendar cannot measure longing, nor can a stopwatch capture stillness. Time as lived is woven with feeling, stitched through with breath, with thoughts that slow or skip or dance. There is the time the world sets, and there is the time your soul inhabits, soft, winding, beautifully uneven. Waiting feels longer than it is. To wait is to stretch every second, to feel time as weight. The minutes grow thick and sluggish, like honey resisting the spoon. Your thoughts loop in expectation, hoping for movement, for resolution, but the moment stays still. Each tick of the clock feels louder, more distinct. You notice sounds you usually ignore. The hum of appliances, the faint creak of the floor, your own breath echoing back. Time slows not because it changes, but because you are present in every inch of it, hoping for a shift that hasn't yet come. Waiting sharpens awareness, but not always gently. It exposes the raw edges of impatience, of yearning, of uncertainty. But in that stretch, there is also space to breathe, to observe, to simply be. And sometimes, when you let go of the anticipation, the weight becomes softer. The weight of it lightens, and time flows again, not rushing, but no longer resisting. The subjective second. A second is not always the same. It can rush or crawl depending on how you feel. One moment might vanish between blinks, while another stretches wide enough to hold an entire thought. The brain does not count seconds with a clock. It counts with experience, with emotion, with attention. A single second filled with fear can feel like an hour, while one brushed with joy might pass before it's even noticed. This elasticity makes time feel like fabric, sometimes taut, sometimes loose, always shifting. In meditation, a second can open like a flower, full of scent and stillness. In distraction, it can flicker by like a candle in the wind. The second is the smallest unit we often name, but even here, perception reigns. There is no single rhythm to the moment. Instead, there is your rhythm, quiet, changing, and deeply your own. Time and temperature. Cold days feel longer, warm ones slip through like light. In the chill, time thickens. Your breath turns visible, your fingers move slower, and even your thoughts seem to wear coats. The cold stretches the hours, not with discomfort, but with presence, each moment more noticeable, more textured. In contrast, warmth feels like ease. Time floats in sunshine, golden and quick. A warm day hums, moves softly from hour to hour, like shadows on a porch. The body relaxes, the mind drifts. Warmth makes the minutes airy, less bound, but cold holds time close. You feel each second more clearly, like footsteps on snow. The seasons, too, shape perception. Summer days feel wide and brief, while winter evenings linger. Temperature is not just sensation, it is a clock of its own, measuring not only degrees, but the quality of time's passing, sharp or soft, crisp or fluid, fast or slow. Eyes closed, time shifts with eyelids. Drawn, the world slows. Time becomes internal, The outer landscape recedes, replaced by the gentle pulse of breath and heartbeat. Light and movement no longer signal the hour. Instead, awareness drifts inward, where seconds no longer line up neatly. You may find yourself lost in thought, not knowing how long you've been there. A minute can feel like a moment or a journey. With eyes closed, you float in the soft space between waking and dreaming. Here, time has no ruler. It curves around memory, wraps around sensation, folds gently into stillness. The absence of visual input turns your focus inward, where time whispers instead of speaks. You become untethered, moving through the moment not by steps, but by softness. With each breath, you feel how loosely time holds you, and how beautifully it lets you drift. Boredom stretches the moment. When there's little to anchor to, the moment expands. It becomes a quiet canyon of waiting. Each second echoes louder than the last, filling the space with the sound of your own thoughts. The mind, searching for stimulation, slows its pace, reluctant to move forward without something to grasp. Time thickens, becomes dense and visible, like fog in a silent valley. You notice everything and nothing: the creak of the wall, the blink of your eyes, the rhythm of your breath. In boredom, the world stands still, not cruelly, but curiously. The absence of activity stretches the hours like taffy, long and sticky. But boredom also holds potential. In its emptiness, there is room for wondering, for noticing, for creativity to yawn and stretch. Time here is both heavy and light, frustrating and full of possibility. And eventually, when something stirs, you find yourself surprised by how far you've drifted within the silence. Sleep and the vanishing hours. You lay your head down, and in what feels like a blink, morning has arrived. Time collapsed into stillness. The hours vanish behind closed eyes, slipping away without notice. Sleep folds time inward, drawing the long night into a single soft breath. You do not feel the passing. You surrender to it. The body stills, the mind unwinds, and consciousness floats gently away. Time moves on without you, rearranging dreams and darkness while you rest. And when you wake, it is as if no time passed at all. And yet, your body feels the change. The sky has shifted, the light has returned. Sleep is not a space of doing, but of being held. It is a gentle theft of time, but one you gladly allow. And within that vanishing, you are renewed. Time took the night and gave back rest, jet lag and temporal confusion. Crossing time zones untethers us. Day and night lose meaning. The body clings to one rhythm, while the world insists on another. Morning feels like midnight, and meals arrive when you're not hungry. The sun hangs in a different place, casting shadows that don't align with your internal clock. You become unstuck, floating between where you were and where you are. Time feels warped, elastic, unfamiliar. The usual anchors, routine, light, sleep, no longer guide you. Instead, you're suspended in a kind of temporal fog, and yet, in that disorientation, there's something tender, a softness, a surrender to something you can't control. The world spins, and you move with it, slowly realigning. Over days, your body learns again. The inner clock finds the outer one. Time resumes its shape, but in those jet-lagged moments, you are reminded how delicate your sense of time really is, how easily it bends, and how quietly it returns. Music shapes. Times feel. A slow melody can lengthen a minute. A fast beat can make an hour vanish. Music is one of the few things that can stretch or compress time without changing the clock. A lullaby can make seconds feel deep and full, while a dance rhythm can whisk you through a whole evening. Music doesn't obey time, it redefines it. Each note marks not just rhythm, but emotion, memory, sensation. A song can make you feel suspended in air or carried forward by invisible waves. The passage of time becomes part of the experience, shaped by tone, tempo, and harmony. Whether it's a single piano chord lingering in silence or a driving beat that pulses through your feet, music changes how you live within a moment. Time, under music's spell, becomes elastic, emotional, human. You don't just listen to music, you travel through it. The brain's internal stopwatch. Somewhere inside, a rhythm ticks, but it dances with perception, not precision. This inner metronome is not mechanical. It's fluid, sensitive, emotional. It speeds up when you're anxious, slows down when you're calm, and sometimes disappears altogether in dreams or flow. It's the reason you can feel when a minute has passed, even without a clock, but it's also the reason a minute can feel like 5 when you're waiting, or like 10 seconds when you're laughing. This internal timer listens to your senses, to your breath, to the world around you. It weaves memory and presence into its rhythm. It's the pulse beneath thought, the whisper beneath awareness. And while it rarely keeps perfect time, it always keeps felt time, the kind of time that matters more than accuracy. It reminds us that time is not just a number. It is something lived and felt and remembered. How adrenaline slows perception. In stress, the world sharpens and time becomes visible. You feel everything at once. The heartbeat echoes louder, breath quickens, pupils widen to drink in more light. A moment that would have passed unnoticed now stretches into clarity. Sounds crystallize, motions slow, and the edges of now become sharp and defined. This is the body's deep, primal focus, where adrenaline sharpens attention and in doing so stretches the sense of time's passing. What lasts only a few seconds may feel like a minute, filled with vivid detail and urgency. And yet, this slowed perception is not calm. It is intensity wrapped in stillness. Even after the moment passes, your body remembers the stretch, the heaviness of each instant. Time, in those moments, is no longer a gentle stream. It is a bright flare, fast, hot, and slow all at once. Dreamless sleep, a blink in time. You remember nothing, yet hours passed. A whole night disappears into silence. No images, no voices, no stories. Only the gentle drop into a quiet space beyond awareness. The body rests, the mind dissolves, and time evaporates. Unlike dreaming, where fragments remain, this sleep holds no trace. You enter and then emerge as if no time at all had passed, but the body knows. Muscles soften, breaths deepen, the heart steadies. In dreamless sleep, time becomes a shadow, unmarked, uninterrupted, yet transformative. You are untouched by the ticking of clocks, freed from the grasp of thought. It is not nothingness, but a different kind of presence, one without memory, without motion, only the rhythm of breath and the hush of healing. And when morning comes, you carry no tale, only the quiet gift of time passed in stillness. Novelty makes days feel longer. New places, new faces, they fill time with moments that stick. The unfamiliar slows the clock. Each detail stands out. Each experience demands attention. A street you've never walked before, a meal unlike any other, a conversation that doesn't follow your usual rhythm. These create markers in your memory. Your brain, working to make sense of it all, slows perception. Time becomes rich, layered, and wide. A single day filled with novelty can feel like many days stacked together, And later, when you remember it, that day stretches in your mind like a vivid mural painted with clarity and color. Novelty asks you to be present, to notice, to engage, to feel, and in doing so, it lengthens your time, not just in the moment, but in memory. Time slows when you see the world with fresh eyes. Familiarity compresses the week. When each day mirrors the last, time folds into itself. Weeks feel like hours. You wake, move through routines, and sleep again, each action echoing the one before. The mind, unchallenged by change, records less. Days become less distinct, and time, without new edges to mark it, compresses. What felt long in the moment becomes small in reflection. This is the paradox of routine, comforting, predictable, but quiet in memory. A week can pass unnoticed, folded gently into sameness, and yet, within that soft repetition, there is stillness, ease. Familiarity may blur the days, but it also brings peace. There is a rhythm in routine that calms the mind, even as it dims the clock. Time slips by softly here, like pages in a well-loved book you've read many times before. Anticipation makes time stretch. When you're waiting for something beautiful, each second grows long. Joy delays itself. The heart leans forward. The mind circles ahead, imagining what's to come. But the body must remain in now, in the slow, stretching present. Time in anticipation becomes elastic. Each minute expands, filled with the echo of the awaited moment. You count the days. You watch the clock, but the hands seem heavy. The more you yearn, the longer it seems to take. And yet, there's sweetness in that stretch, a quiet ache of hope, a hum of possibility. The air feels charged, your senses more alert. Time bends, not with impatience, but with longing. It teaches you how deeply you care. And when the moment finally arrives, it's the weight that made it luminous. Regret and the weight of time. Looking back can feel heavier than the moment was. Time gathers weight in hindsight. A choice made, a word spoken, a moment missed. They gain gravity as they settle into memory. Regret doesn't change the past, but it colors it, thickens it, makes it linger. The seconds you wish you could undo stretch far behind you, replaying softly, stubbornly, and yet the past is fixed. What remains is the feeling, the echo of what could have been. Time here is slow but not cruel. It invites you to reflect, to learn, to soften. With time, even regret can blur, can fade into understanding. What once felt sharp becomes rounded. Time doesn't erase it, but it carries it differently. And in that carrying, you find a new way to walk forward. Joy makes time fly. Laughter shortens the hours. Love compresses the day. In joy, time feels like it has wings. Moments pass without measure, not because they are empty, but because they are full of connection, of presence, of warmth. The mind stops keeping track when the heart is overflowing. A shared smile, a gentle touch, the sparkle of something beautiful. These are timeless not because they last, but because they lift. Time under joy is light, fluid, playful. The clock still moves, but you don't notice. You're in the music, not counting beats. And when the day ends, it feels like a blink, but one filled with color, with feeling. In joy, time is not lost, it is transformed. Mindfulness slows the hour. Being fully present lets time expand. The moment breathes deeply. When you bring your attention gently to now, to the sensation of air on your skin, to the way light moves through a window, to the rhythm of your own breath, time unfolds. It opens like a flower in slow bloom. The usual rush dissolves, and instead, you feel the richness, of this exact moment. Nothing is hurried. Each sensation is a thread, weaving together a deeper sense of being. Even small acts, sipping tea, closing your eyes, listening to distant birdsong, become vast. Mindfulness does not stretch the clock, but it stretches your experience of it. 1 minute lived fully can feel like many. The more you notice, the more you feel, and the more you feel, the longer time lingers softly. Nostalgia warps the past. Memories come softened, colored by longing. Time feels sweeter in hindsight. What was once ordinary now glows, seen through the lens of distance. A song, a scent, a photograph. They call back moments, not as they were, but as we felt them. Nostalgia wraps the past in warmth, even if the moment itself was fleeting or bittersweet. The mind stitches together highlights, fades the rest, and the result is a kind of gentle dream. Time becomes a loop, not a line. We revisit, we refeel, we reimagine, and in doing so, we realize that time is not just something we live through, but something we carry. Nostalgia softens the edges, allowing memory to become comfort. The past lingers not as history, but as feeling. Aging speeds up the years. As we grow, each year becomes a smaller slice. Time flows faster with perspective. In childhood, a summer feels endless, filled with newness, each day etched in sharp relief. But as the years accumulate, patterns form. More days feel the same, and fewer are marked by firsts. The brain, less surprised, records less. Time passes quickly, not because it changes, but because we do. With age, the mind no longer pauses to absorb every detail. It flows more smoothly, more efficiently, and so the years seem to slip by. But within that speed, there is wisdom. You begin to notice different things, not the number of moments, but their depth. Not the length of the day, but its warmth. Aging may quicken the clock, but it also teaches you how to cherish. Time, once endless, becomes precious, and in that awareness, even fast-moving years can be lived slowly. Children experience time differently. To a child, a week is forever. A season is a lifetime. Each morning brings something new. Each afternoon stretches on like a story without an end. Time is not counted but felt. In games played under the sun, in the long yawn of summer days, in the promise of birthdays that seem impossibly far away. The world is filled with firsts, and firsts take time to absorb. The brain, still learning, pauses for wonder, for questions, for noticing. A single day can feel like a lifetime because everything is still being measured for the very first time. Waiting feels endless. Joy feels infinite, and memories, though recent, glow with the brightness of eternity. In the eyes of a child, time has texture, soft, elastic, glowing, and even though we grow, a part of us always remembers that endless afternoon when the light never faded and the moment never rushed. The blink of an eye is measured in eternity. In the blink, there's a whole world of perception. Time can live inside a flash. Your eyes close, and in that instant, light vanishes. But the mind continues, capturing motion, remembering color, holding the sound that came just before. A blink is barely a beat, but within it, your brain holds a frame of the world, still and detailed, like a photograph imprinted without asking. Sometimes, in moments of surprise or awe, that blink carries emotion, an imprint of feeling that lingers long after. There are blinks we remember, glances exchanged, a sudden shift in light, a tear we didn't expect. Inside that moment is a stretch of experience, folded into a sliver of time. Even in the smallest pause, the brain expands and absorbs, because time doesn't need space, it only needs attention. And attention can make a moment last forever. How the mind edits duration. Our memories smooth the edges. They decide how long things felt. A long day filled with repetition might shrink in hindsight, while a single moment of beauty or pain might feel like it lasted hours. The mind doesn't keep perfect records. It edits, revises, and rewrites. It saves the pieces that shimmer and lets the rest fade into quiet background. A birthday candle flickering in the dark, the final hug at a train station, the sound of rain during a sleepless night. These slivers of time expand in memory, not because they were long, but because they were full. Your brain takes emotional weight and stretches the moment, and later, when you recall it, you feel time's softness, its elasticity. The clock might forget, but you won't, because time lived is not the same as time measured. It's not how long you spent, but how deeply you felt. Moments of silence feel longer, without words or motion. Time unfolds. The quiet becomes vast. In a silent room, the smallest sounds grow large. A creaking floorboard, the breath through your nose, the distant hum of life beyond the walls. The absence of conversation invites attention inward. Without speech to divide the moments, the minutes seem to expand, stretching out into softness. Silence doesn't rush. It offers no distraction, only presence. Some silences feel light and comforting, like wrapping yourself in a warm blanket. Others carry weight, like unsaid thoughts hanging in the air. But in both, time changes shape. It becomes fuller, deeper, slower. Without noise, you notice. And with noticing comes the sense that time is vast, not in length, but in depth. A single quiet minute can feel like a whole landscape unfolding gently in the mind. Time underwater feels different. Suspended in water, time slows. Each motion feels drawn out, like moving through syrup. Your arms and legs no longer obey the quickness of land. They glide, stretch, pause. Sounds become muffled, distant, as if wrapped in cotton. The heartbeat, the breath, even thought itself seems to take longer. Floating, you are held in a world that ignores the clock. There are no deadlines here, no sharp corners, just the gentle drag of water and the cool quiet that envelops you. A second feels like a sentence. A single turn becomes an entire moment. Beneath the surface, time is not measured by seconds, but by sensations. The ripple of current, the rhythm of your limbs, the way light shimmers across your skin. And when you return to air, it's as if you've passed through a different dimension, one where time bowed to softness. Meditation expands the moment. In stillness, you stretch the now. Each breath becomes its own world. Eyes closed, posture soft. The mind begins to quiet. The usual stream of thought slows, breaks apart, and fades. You begin to notice the rhythm of breath, the pulse in your fingertips, the weight of your own presence. Time, no longer chased or controlled, opens itself to you. What was once a minute on the clock becomes a soft ocean of sensation and calm. Thoughts still arise, but they are not chased. They come and go like clouds. Without attachment, time loses its grip. You are not in the past or the future. You are here in this breath, in this gentle unfolding. Meditation doesn't stop time. It reveals how large the moment can be when you finally pause to enter it. Rituals anchor. Time, lighting a candle, sipping tea. These small acts hold time still. They repeat, not because they must, but because they comfort. Rituals are rhythm, gentle reminders that some moments are meant to be touched slowly. The clink of a cup, the warmth of steam, the flicker of flame. These are anchors, not to the ticking of a clock, but to presence. Rituals give time texture. They create shape in the blur of days. Whether daily or rare, sacred or simple, each one says, "This matters. This is where you are." And in that quiet marking, time softens. Rituals are not about efficiency. They are about meaning, and where there is meaning, there is memory. Even long after, you'll recall the way the tea smelled, the way the light fell, the hush that settled, time caught gently in the hands of ritual. Sunlight changes. Times feel. Morning light is sharp and quick. Sunset feels slow and warm. At dawn, the world stretches, yawns, awakens. Shadows are long, colors are pale, and time feels like something to be filled. But as the sun lowers, golden rays drape across the world like silk. The pace eases. Minutes feel like honey, thick and sweet. The urgency fades. Even thoughts begin to move slower, mirroring the slant of the sun. In the quiet of late afternoon, you might find yourself watching dust dance in the light, hearing the hush between birdsong, noticing how your own body softens. Time here is not about doing. It is about being, about witnessing. Sunlight does not measure time. It shapes it. It reminds you that the same hour can feel utterly different depending on how it glows. The moon's pace is not ours. The moon moves slowly. Time follows different rules in its light. It rises without hurry, a soft disk climbing the dark sky. No ticking, no buzz, just the quiet unfolding of silver on black. The moon keeps time in cycles, not seconds. It changes shape gently, silently, over weeks, not moments. And under its glow, we move differently too. Voices lower, steps slow. The world shrinks into quiet pockets of reflection. Time at night is lunar, dreamlike, drifting, less linear. The moon does not rush, and when we let it guide us, neither do we. It teaches us to mark time, not by urgency, but by presence, to measure change not in hours, but in phases. Beneath its calm gaze, we are reminded time does not have to be fast to be full. Why some days feel heavy, not all time is weightless. Some days settle like stone. You wake with a hush in your chest, as if the air itself is thicker. Each task takes more effort. Minutes feel reluctant, dragging behind the eyes. Time becomes a blanket, not warm but dense. Sometimes it's the weather, gray skies that never brighten. Sometimes it's the heart carrying something unspoken, unseen. These days don't move quickly. They ask for softness, for slowness. They call you inward, and though they may feel heavy, they are not empty. They are full of pause, of feeling, of reflection. Time stretches not to punish, but to hold space, for healing, for rest, for simply being. Even the heaviest days pass, but while they last, they remind you that you are human, and that time, even when slow, still carries you forward. How time passes in grief. Grief distorts the days. Time becomes fog. The hours lose their edges, dissolving into a soft blur where morning and evening feel almost indistinguishable. You move through each moment as if underwater, aware of the world but slightly removed from it. Simple tasks feel heavier, as though gravity itself has thickened. The minutes stretch, not because they are slow, but because every one of them echoes with absence. Grief pulls you inward, into memory, into reflection, into silence. Time doesn't flow. It lingers, settles, curls around you like mist. Sometimes it stands perfectly still. Other times it rushes ahead before you can catch your breath. Grief rearranges the rhythm of living, not permanently, but deeply. And slowly, gently, the fog begins to shift. Light returns in thin threads. Time becomes visible again, not as a burden, but as a space that can one day hold warmth. Laughter shrinks the clock. When you laugh, you lose track. Time becomes irrelevant. Joy rises like warm air, lifting the weight of the moment until the hours feel featherlight. The world softens, your breath quickens, your eyes brighten, and suddenly the day has slipped forward without your noticing. Laughter bends time, pulling you fully into the now, where clocks have no meaning and worry has no voice. You share a glance, a story, a silly thought, and the world rearranges itself into something simpler, softer. Even if the moment is brief, it expands with warmth, leaving a glow that outlasts the sound. Time flies not because it disappears, but because you are so deeply present that you forget to measure it. In laughter, the heart keeps its own tempo, bright, fleeting, beautifully light. Love and the vanishing. Afternoon hours pass unnoticed in the presence of someone you love. Time becomes shared breath. The afternoon unfolds in quiet ease. A conversation, a walk, a moment of stillness together. And suddenly the sun is lower, the shadows longer. Love softens the edges of the day, turning minutes into something warm and golden. Every gesture feels like a sentence, every silence filled with meaning. You stop counting time because you're not waiting for anything. There is no rush, no pressure, just the simple joy of being near another heartbeat. Time, sensing your contentment, slips gently forward without asking for attention. You look up and wonder where the hours went, and yet it feels as though you lived every one of them fully. With love, time doesn't vanish. It dissolves into closeness. Waiting rooms and clock. Watching time crawls when you're aware of every second. The ticking becomes a companion. You sit, shifting your weight, listening to the hum of lights and the shuffle of distant footsteps. Seconds stretch out like long hallways. Each moment seems to widen, expanding with the quiet tension of uncertainty. Your eyes drift to the clock again and again, hoping it might have moved farther than it has. The room feels suspended, caught between what has happened and what might happen. Time becomes thick, almost tangible, settling onto your shoulders. Every sigh, every cough, every small rustle becomes a marker. And yet, within that slow crawl, there is a strange stillness, a reminder that waiting is a kind of pause the world rarely gives you. Eventually, the moment shifts, the door opens, the wait ends, but the memory of those stretched seconds lingers softly. Falling asleep while reading pages blur, time unravels. You drift without knowing when. The words begin to soften, sentences slipping past your eyes without landing. Your eyelids grow heavy, and the story blends with the quiet murmur of your thoughts. You think you're still reading, still following the thread, but the mind has already unspooled into dreams. The boundary between the page and your imagination dissolves, and you float gently into sleep, the book resting like an anchor beside you. Minutes pass without your awareness. Time does not matter here, only the comfort of drifting, of letting go. When you wake, you might not remember where you stopped or what line carried you across the threshold, but you'll feel the sweetness of that soft surrender. Time, like the story, simply faded into calm. The stretch of the last hour at work, final hours, feels slowest. Time delays freedom. The minute hand seems to hesitate, as if reluctant to move forward. You glance toward the clock, hoping it has inched ahead, only to find it nearly where it was. Tasks feel longer, thoughts feel scattered, and the mind begins to drift toward what lies beyond the day. The quiet evening, the open air, the softness waiting at home. Anticipation stretches the moment, pulling it taut. Even small tasks feel heavier as you wait for that gentle release from obligation. The world outside feels close, pressed against the windows, humming faintly, and still time lingers. But eventually, without hurry, the final minute arrives. The clock lets go, and the slowest hour becomes a memory replaced by the lightness of stepping away. Vacations feel short in memory. Once home, the week feels like a flash. Memories condense. Days filled with adventure, rest, or discovery compress into a handful of bright images. The view from a mountaintop, the warmth of a sunrise, the taste of something new. When you're in it, the vacation feels spacious, full of softness and possibility, but afterward, the brain gathers the experience into highlights, like jewels held in the palm of the mind. The small details fade, leaving behind the moments that shimmer the brightest. And so, the days seem shorter than they were, not because they lacked fullness, but because memory preserves essence, not length. What remains is the glow, the impression, the feeling. Time, in recollection, becomes distilled, brief, beautiful, and held gently. Near-death experiences and time dilation. Some say time stopped, that everything was seen at once. In moments where life narrows to a single point, perception shifts in extraordinary ways. The mind, flooded with urgency and clarity, pulls in memories, sensations, and awareness all at once. A lifetime can feel like it folds into a single heartbeat. Colors sharpen, sounds deepen, and thought accelerates into something crystalline. Time becomes a wide, silent field where past and present seem to coexist. For some, this dilation feels peaceful. For others, overwhelming. But nearly all describe a sense of stepping outside the usual flow, of witnessing life from a place beyond seconds. When the moment ends and the body returns to safety, time resumes its familiar current, but the experience remains, a reminder that perception can stretch farther than we ever imagine. Time feels different in nature. Forests don't hurry. Time walks barefoot. Among trees, minutes fall like leaves, gently, quietly, without urgency. The rustle of branches, the distant bird song, the earthy scent of soil all slow the rhythm of thought. Here the world has its own tempo, measured not by clocks, but by wind and growth. You breathe differently, deeper, matching the forest's calm. Even a short walk can feel expansive, as if you stepped into a pocket of slower time. Nature does not rush your steps or demand your attention. It simply invites you to notice, and in that noticing, time softens. The forest becomes a reminder that slowness is natural, that presence is enough. When you leave, you carry that stillness with you, a quiet echo of the woods humming in your chest. The long goodbye farewells extend the clock. Time tries to hold on. Each hug lasts a little longer. Each word hangs in the air with gentle weight. You linger in doorways, delaying the moment when presence becomes absence. Even the silence between sentences feels full, as if trying to capture one more breath of togetherness. The seconds stretch because the heart resists letting go. You walk slowly toward the car, pause before closing the door, wave one more time. The goodbye becomes a ritual of holding and releasing, holding and releasing. And finally, when the moment passes and the distance grows, time resumes its usual pace. But for a little while, it's stretched with tenderness, trying to honor the softness of parting. Time softens in the bath. Steam rises, and with it, the urgency dissolves. The clock fades behind warmth and quiet. You lower yourself into the water, and the outside world slips away, replaced by the hush of ripples and breath. The heat cradles your muscles, softening the edges of thought. Light reflects on the surface, gently bending with each movement, like time itself surrendering its grip. Minutes become indistinct, blurred by the lull of comfort. There is no rush here, no place to be, only the stillness that opens when everything slows. Your heartbeat syncs with the warmth, and the air fills with the gentle rhythm of dripping taps and the faint sigh of your own exhale. In this moment, time does not pass. It melts, becomes liquid, becomes now. Firelight and the slow hour. The flames flicker without schedule. Time glows instead of ticks. Shadows dance on the walls in a quiet rhythm, unhurried and ancient. The room breathes in, amber tones, each flame licking the air like a story whispered in warmth. There is no countdown, only the soft crackle and the scent of something earthy and calm. The clock may still turn somewhere, but here, in the hush of firelight, time circles like smoke, slowly rising, gently disappearing. You watch, not to measure, but to feel the shifting light, the comfort of stillness. Moments pool around you, golden and slow. With each blink, each breath, the world softens, and time becomes a quiet glow that holds you close, moments shared without words. Silence between loved ones moves gently. Time hums rather than speaks. There's a comfort in the presence, in the knowing glance, in the way breaths fall into rhythm without intention. The space between words stretches, not from absence, but from fullness. The kind of fullness that doesn't need to explain itself. You sit together, the air calm, the moment complete. In this hush, there is no need to narrate, no need to fill the space. Time becomes an atmosphere wrapping around both of you like a soft blanket. It is not passing, it is being, still quiet, shared. These are the moments that settle deep in memory, not because of what was said, but because of what was felt. The rhythm of breathing and time's pulse. Each inhale marks a moment, each exhale lets it go. The breath moves like waves, steady and soft, counting the seconds, not in numbers, but in sensation. Inhale, the world arrives, gentle and new. Exhale, it releases, slow and whole. Time lives in this rhythm, not measured by clocks, but by the body's quiet song. You feel it in the rise of your chest, the fall of your shoulders, the way the air cools as it enters, warms as it leaves. This is a clock made of presence, no ticking hands, no alarms, just breath and the soft passage of now into now into now. As you settle into this rhythm, time becomes less of a line and more of a circle, looping with grace, with ease. The long drift before sleep. You lay still, not yet asleep. Time becomes liquid, unbound by thought. The room is dim, your body heavy with comfort, and your thoughts begin to blur at the edges. One blends into another, soft and half-formed, like distant waves reaching the shore. The minutes are no longer markers, but tides, slow, smooth, quiet. You are not waiting. You are floating, gently, on the surface of sleep. The bed holds you like water, the blanket a soft current. Every sound fades, every worry thins, until only the rhythm of your breath remains. This drift, this slow sinking, is not empty. It is full of silence, full of space, and somewhere in it, without knowing when, sleep finds you. How animals perceive time to a cat in the sun or a bird in flight, time is not counted. It is simply felt. A moment is not measured by seconds, but by sensation, the warmth of a patch of light, the rustle of a breeze, the hunger of instinct. For animals, there is no schedule, no calendar, only the continuous now. A deer pauses to listen, a dog sighs into rest, a hummingbird hovers, heart racing in still air. Each action is whole, complete, not pulled forward or back by thought. There is presence in their being, a deep alignment with the rhythm of nature. Time flows through them like wind, unseen, unfelt as pressure, only known as movement, as change, as life itself. In their simplicity, time is not something to manage, but something to live. The shadow of time in art. A brushstroke holds a frozen moment, but the feeling behind it lingers. In each stroke, each line, there is a choice, a movement, a pause, a decision made in an instant, but echoing long after. A painting captures more than shape. It captures the breath of the artist, the quiet time that led to creation. You stand before it, and time bends. You're not looking at a still image, but stepping into a preserved rhythm. The colors whisper of a moment felt deeply, maybe joy, maybe sorrow, maybe longing. And as you gaze, your own time slows. You meet the artist across the years, not in words, but in mood, in emotion. In this way, art becomes a vessel, carrying feeling through time's still river. Sundials in the slow circle. The sun moves silently. The shadow follows, unhurried, eternal. A sundial does not rush. It does not beep or chime. It leans into the light and waits, letting time unfold like petals. The arc of the day reveals itself slowly, casting the shadow a little farther, a little longer, as the earth turns without sound. There is something ancient here, something deeply grounded. To watch a sundial is to remember that time was once watched by the sky, not by machines. That hours once passed with the trees, with the seasons, with the fall of golden light. And in that remembering, something softens. You breathe in the slowness, and for a while, you live by the sun's quiet rule. Why time feels different when you're ill. A fever bends the day into loops. Minutes drag like wet cloth. You lie still, aware of your breath, your body, the heaviness of limbs that once moved without thought. The world outside continues. Birds call, doors open and close, light shifts across the room. But inside, everything slows. The clock ticks, yet each second feels swollen, echoing with discomfort. Your thoughts wander, looping through fragments, returning again and again to the same soft place. There's a blurring between sleep and waking, between day and night. The mind, dulled by illness, no longer marks time clearly. It stretches, folds, pools around you. Even in this discomfort, there is stillness, a forced pause that makes space, even as it asks you to wait. Music in minor keys slows time. A sad song slows the listener's breath. The moment deepens, swells. Each note lingers a little longer, holding emotion in its curve. The melody wraps around you like dusk, soft and full of quiet ache. Minor chords do not rush. They pause, they echo, they reflect. As the music plays, time loosens, drawn into the spaces between the sounds. Your heart listens not just to the tune, but to the feelings beneath it. Longing, tenderness, the hush of something almost remembered. The world quiets. The day softens. The song doesn't end so much as fade gently, leaving behind a silence that feels richer than before. And within that silence, time sighs, slowed by the echo of a single lingering note. Counting down changes perception. To count is to anticipate. Each number is a rung descending into stillness. As the numbers fall one by one, your awareness shifts from the world around you to the gentle rhythm within. Counting gives shape to time, turning it into something you can feel, something you can move through slowly and deliberately. With each count, the moment grows quieter, softer, as though the space between the numbers is widening into a calm field. Your breath aligns with the rhythm, settling your thoughts, guiding your body toward rest. Counting slows the world, not because the seconds change, but because your attention narrows, focuses, drifts. By the time the final number arrives, you've stepped deeper into calm, carried gently by the descending hush. The ticking of old clocks. An antique clock doesn't rush. It marks time like a heartbeat in an empty room. Each tick is a soft reminder of the world turning, steady and unhurried. The sound fills the quiet like a pulse, grounding the space in a rhythm older than memory. In a room warmed by lamplight or touched by shadows, the clock becomes a companion, not demanding, not urgent, simply present. As you listen, the ticking begins to blend with your breath, creating a gentle duet of motion and stillness. The hours drift by, not with haste, but with a comforting inevitability. Old clocks do not measure productivity. They measure presence. They remind you that time can be slow, can be gentle, can be held in the soft echo of a steady, faithful beat. Moments of stillness in nature. A leaf falls, a breeze shifts. Time watches but does not interfere. In these quiet fragments of the natural world, the rhythm of life reveals itself without noise or urgency. The air feels lighter, the colors deeper, as you witness the world moving at its own soft pace. A branch sways, a bird pauses on a fence, a shadow stretches across grass. Nothing demands attention, yet everything invites it. These small, still moments gather like morning dew, delicate and fleeting, carried by the soft breath of the earth. Nature holds time differently, not in seconds, but in cycles, in gestures, in the hush between movements. And when you stand within it, letting the stillness settle over your skin, you feel time loosen, widen, drift in harmony with the wind. The long shadows of late afternoon's light stretches the world. Time feels like a slow exhale. The sun dips low, casting everything in warm gold and elongated silhouettes that move like quiet companions across the ground. The day softens as the heat fades, and the hours between afternoon and evening unfold with a gentle, lingering pace. In this light, even familiar places feel touched by something tender. You breathe deeper, your thoughts slow. The world seems to sigh, settling into the peaceful transition of dusk. Time expands here, not outward, but inward, filling you with the sense that the day doesn't need to hurry to its close. In the long shadows, you find a moment suspended, held in the soft glow of fading light. Memories that loop. Some memories return again and again, not in sequence but in rhythm. They rise like waves, bringing with them fragments of feeling, a scent, a sound, a moment half forgotten. These looping memories don't follow the timeline of your life. They follow the emotion woven into them. They appear during quiet moments, during sleep, during stillness, asking to be felt once more. They are not reminders of the past so much as echoes of who you were in those moments. Time folds when memories loop, bending back on itself to reawaken a familiar softness or ache. And each time they arrive, they linger briefly before dissolving again, like a tide retreating into the deep. Why time seems to vanish in cities. Skyscrapers crowd the sky. Light blurs night and day. In the hum of constant activity, flashing signs, passing cars, voices drifting from every direction, the boundaries between hours soften. Daylight reflects off glass towers, stretching brightness long into evening, while neon signs fill the night with artificial dawn. The city never fully sleeps, and so time slips through unnoticed, carried along by movement and noise. Streets fill and empty, trains rush past, and before you realize it, hours have dissolved into the rhythm of footsteps and engines. In cities, time is swallowed by momentum. It becomes fast, bright, and strangely fluid. You look up, and suddenly the day has vanished, replaced by the glowing hum of another night. The dreamlike feel of jet lag. You wake not knowing where you are. Time floats between zones. Light feels wrong. Shadows fall at unfamiliar angles, and your body's quiet clock beats to a rhythm the world around you no longer follows. You move through the day as though drifting through a dream, slightly detached, slightly out of sync, as if the world is half a breath ahead of you. Meals come at odd hours, sleep surfaces in waves, and moments stretch or collapse unpredictably. Jet lag is a gentle disorientation, a reminder that your sense of time is woven into your body, not just your surroundings. As you slowly realign with the new rhythm, sunrise, sunset, the pulse of the place around you, time steadies, settling softly back into place. Time between lightning and thunder. The flash arrives before the voice. Time reveals distance and silence. The sky brightens for an instant, sharp and brilliant, then waits, holding its breath in a suspended moment that feels longer than it is. The pause stretches across the landscape, a quiet span where you sense the storm gathering itself. Then the thunder rolls in, deep and resonant, carrying the weight of the clouds. That space between flash and sound is a strange little pocket of anticipation, a natural countdown measured not by numbers but by light and echo. In that pause, you feel the scale of the world, the vastness of sky and air. Time doesn't speed or slow, it listens. Time feels different in different languages. Some languages speak of time as space, others see it as a river. The way words frame the moment changes how it is felt. Time in front of you, time behind you, time flowing toward you, time being walked through gently. Language shapes perception, weaving culture into experience. In some tongues, the future is behind your back, unseen. In others, the past lies before you, known and visible. These variations shift how people move through the world, how they remember, how they anticipate. Time becomes a landscape shaped by grammar, metaphor, tradition, and in listening to a different language, you can feel your own sense of time stretch, soften, open to new pathways of understanding. Eclipses and the stopping of the sun. When the sky darkens at midday, time forgets its path. The world hushes, shadows sharpen, and a strange coolness sweeps across the ground. For a moment, the familiar rhythm of day is interrupted, replaced by a breathtaking stillness. People pause, animals quiet, and even the wind seems to hold its breath. The moon passes gently across the sun, turning light into a dim, otherworldly glow. It feels as though the day has stepped outside itself, as though time has slipped into a pocket of awe. And when the light returns, slowly, softly, the world exhales. Time resumes its flow, but the memory of that brief suspension lingers like dreamlight on the mind. Moments that echo you, stand somewhere new, yet it feels familiar, as if time remembered. A certain scent in the air, a slant of light on a wall, the shape of a shadow. These small details awaken something beneath thought, a soft stirring of recognition. Though you can't quite place it, your body feels it, like a whisper from the past echoing forward. The moment holds an invisible thread, tying now to then in a way that's more feeling than fact. You pause, gently, letting the sensation wash over you. It's not deja vu, it's a slower kind of memory, one not of events, but of atmosphere, of presence, and just like that, time opens a quiet doorway. You step through, not backward, not forward, but deeper. The time between words and pauses speak louder than sentences. Silence carries meaning. In the hush after a phrase, something unspoken lingers, stretching into the space where sound once was. It is in that space that feeling takes shape, not in the words themselves, but in the breath held between them. Time listens there. The rhythm of silence slows the moment, allowing thought to soften, allowing emotion to rise gently to the surface. Just as a song needs quiet to define its melody, our speech finds meaning in the spaces between syllables. You don't rush the pause, you live in it for a heartbeat or two. And when the next word comes, it carries not only its sound, but the weight of everything that was held just before, waiting for a message. The seconds are louder, every vibration becomes a heartbeat. In that stillness of waiting, the world shrinks to the size of your attention. Time, usually smooth and flowing, now arrives in pulses, each second stretched, each glance toward the screen heavier than the last. You check again, though nothing has changed, and still hope hums softly beneath the quiet. It's not impatience exactly, it's presence, magnified. Your awareness sharpens, wrapped tightly around a single point in the future. But time doesn't hurry for your anticipation. It moves slowly, deliberately, as if savoring the moment before fulfillment. And eventually, whether the message arrives or not, the waiting becomes its own quiet chapter, where feeling lives inside each passing tick. The whisper of seasons. Spring unfolds slowly, autumn falls faster. Seasons don't arrive like clockwork. They drift in on scent, on wind, on the angle of light. Time moves differently in their presence. In spring, buds yawn open, warmth returns in hesitant steps, and days stretch just a little longer. The world breathes in again. In autumn, leaves rush to the ground like gold rain. The air sharpens, and evenings arrive sooner than expected. One whispers in, the other tumbles down, yet both change the rhythm of time. Not only in the air around you, but in your own body. You move differently, feel differently, guided by the quiet choreography of the earth turning softly through space. And time, always watching, always patient, shifts its tempo with the leaves. The moment before a kiss. A breath is held. Time holds its own breath with you. The world narrows, quiets, as if wrapped in velvet. Eyes soften, space contracts. Nothing moves, and yet everything is alive with anticipation. A stillness so delicate, it could be broken by a single thought. In that suspended second, the air between two people becomes its own universe, heavy with intention, light with wonder. It is a silence filled with touch before touch, a presence before presence. And when the moment finally folds into motion, time releases its grip, gently, tenderly, letting the clock resume as lips meet and the world exhales. But that pause, that hush before the joining, stretches longer in memory than in life. Time in libraries. Books hold centuries, yet in the hush, time moves like dust. Every shelf is a corridor through ages, and every turning page is a door swinging open. The stillness in a library is an emptiness. It's reverence, a quiet shaped by thought. You walk slowly here. The air feels thicker, filled with unseen stories. Light drips through tall windows in slow beams. Time does not pass quickly between rows of books. It meanders, it curls like smoke. It pauses beside you as you read. In the silence, you can almost hear the whisper of quills, the murmur of memories, the hush of minds across time. Here, the clock is not master, it is guest, walking without destination. Each step untangles thought. Time softens beneath your feet. There's no goal, no place to reach, only the rhythm of walking. Heel, toe, breath, breeze. The road ahead isn't measured in miles, but in moments. The sounds of the world shift with each block. Rustling leaves, distant conversations, a dog's bark far away. The body moves forward, but the mind drifts sideways, not racing, not solving, just noticing. You begin to lose track of time because time begins to lose interest in being counted. It becomes the rustle of a branch, the glint of sunlight on a puddle, the warmth of motion in your legs. And when you return, you realize you haven't traveled far, but you've journeyed somewhere quiet, liminal time, airports and stations. Between arrival and departure, time is neither here nor there. The walls of terminals hum with transience, with footsteps that echo without roots. People pass in waves, some hurrying, some waiting, some floating through the pause. These spaces aren't destinations. They are thresholds, in between places where time stretches strangely. A moment feels both too short and too long. Announcements flicker on screens. Time zones clash on boarding passes. You're not yet gone, not yet arrived. In this liminal stillness, there's a kind of weightlessness, a drifting of identity and place. You exist on pause, cradled by the architecture of movement. And somehow, even in the noise, time whispers, reminding you that not all moments are for action. Some are simply for waiting. The feeling of a forgotten dream. You wake with a memory you cannot keep. Time took it back. For a moment, it was vivid. A face, a place, a sense of something important. But like mist touched by sunlight, it vanished. You reach for it, eyes still heavy with sleep, heart still echoing with a feeling you can't name. There's a hush in your mind, a knowing without words. It wasn't just a dream. It was a message folded in symbols, now gone. You lie still, hoping the dream might return, might pull you back into its arms, but it doesn't. And so you carry the absence with you, the soft outline of a forgotten world, a pocket of time that belonged only to sleep. Time's silence in the desert. Sand moves but slowly. The sun marks time in shadows, not ticks. The desert knows no urgency. Its silence is vast, its hours unhurried, rocks warm by day and chill by night, and still they stay. Wind sculpts the dunes over years, not days. In this land of stillness, time is not measured in clocks, but in erosion, in the quiet shifting of earth. You feel it differently here, not as passing, but as presence. The sky is too wide for hurry. The heat presses down like a blanket, urging rest. Every sound is distant, every motion deliberate. In the desert, you are reminded, time is not a line. It is a breath, a rhythm, a silent stretch to the horizon. The music of rain on windows. Each drop a beat. Together, they slow your thoughts. The rhythm is irregular but soothing, a natural percussion that softens the edges of the day. The rain does not rush. It taps gently, then lingers, then falls in waves like breath. It is a lullaby written in water. As droplets trace slow paths down the glass, your mind follows them, drifting with their unhurried motion. Outside, the world blurs, lights smudge into softness, shapes lose their urgency. You no longer need answers or conclusions. You just listen, just breathe, just feel the way time stretches in the quiet between the drops. Rain does not demand anything of you. It simply offers a moment to rest, to slow, to be. Why? Time slows during meditation. Awareness returns to the breath. The breath returns to the now. There is no past to analyze, no future to prepare for. Only this inhale and this exhale. Each one feels full, not just of air, but of attention. Time begins to loosen its usual grip. You are not escaping the moment, but sinking into it, letting it unfold fully without interruption. The thoughts that once rushed like a river begin to drift like leaves on still water. Even silence has texture here, a richness you didn't notice before. The minutes pass, but not with pressure. They pass with presence, and the more you watch them, the slower they seem to move, not because time has changed, but because you have. Falling through hypnagogia. That space before sleep is elastic. Time slips and rearranges. You are not fully here, not fully gone, just floating between. Thoughts dissolve into images. Images melt into feelings. A door opens, then vanishes. A sound stretches longer than it should. In this liminal space, logic softens, boundaries blur, and time forgets its usual pace. One moment, you feel wide awake. The next, you're unsure how long you've been drifting. The mind flickers, catching glimpses of dream before falling into it fully. It is a soft descent, like gliding down a spiral staircase made of fog. And when you finally fall asleep, you don't remember the moment you crossed over. You only remember that you let go, waking in a new place. Where am I? When am I? Time adjusts to setting. The light is unfamiliar. The ceiling is not the one you know. For a breath, the world holds its shape in uncertainty. Your mind searches for anchors, a smell, a texture, the sound of a city or a forest, and slowly the pieces begin to settle. Time does not leap back into place all at once. It arrives gradually, like the tide. You feel the weight of sleep still on your chest, the haze of dream clinging to the edges of your thoughts. And as you remember where you are, when you are, you notice how pliable those questions really are. Time can be felt in the unfamiliar just as much as in the familiar, sometimes more. Watching a candle burn down, the wax melts as minutes do, slowly, silently, without regret. The flame flickers, a soft heart of fire holding its breath. Shadows stretch and dance on nearby walls, each one moving in quiet rhythm to a flame's unspoken music. You sit still, watching time made visible, not as digits on a screen, but as warmth fading, shape changing, light dimming by degrees. The candle does not rush to burn. It simply continues moment by moment with a kind of graceful inevitability. You might measure time in inches of wax, in the pooling of melted white near the base, in the way the room grows a little darker. And in that stillness, you too soften, aware, quiet, present. Time, as experienced by trees' growth, rings mark years. But for the tree, time is rain and root. It is the slow push of green through bark, the patient reach of limbs toward light, the silent stretch of roots into deeper soil. A tree does not count days. It feels seasons in its sap, drought in its leaves, storms in its sway. It waits without worry. It grows without hurry. Time is not a master, but a companion, steady, cyclical, forgiving. A ring forms, not in awareness, but in presence, each year added in silence, in the language of sun and shadow. To be a tree is to live in time's long breath, a life not rushed, but rooted. The circular nature of ritual. Repeating an act anchors you. Time folds like fabric, a cup raised each morning, a candle lit at dusk, a few words whispered before sleep. These gentle repetitions mark the rhythm of your days. You return to them not because you forget, but because they help you remember. Time is not always a line. Sometimes it loops, like prayer beads slipping through fingers, like footsteps on a familiar path. In ritual, you are both in the present and in every time. You have done this before. Memory and motion overlap. And in that gentle folding of experience, you find calm. You find something that doesn't rush, a moment that holds you, just as you hold it. Erosion and the patience of time. Stone wears away in centuries. Time is the artist, slow and steady. Wind carves, water smooths, ice cracks, and over years upon years, the shape changes. What once was jagged becomes gentle. What once was a cliff becomes sand. The world shifts in these unseen hours, in movements too small to notice, but the transformation is always happening. You stand before a canyon, unaware of the single raindrop that helped carve it. Time does not boast. It does not hurry. Its work is quiet, persistent, and beautiful. In erosion, you see not decay, but becoming. Not loss, but change. It is a reminder that even the hardest things can soften if you give them enough time. Reflections in water. The world wavers. Time ripples with it. A still pond becomes a mirror. And then, with the slightest breeze, that mirror bends. Trees stretch and sway. Clouds twist in gentle distortion. You watch, not for answers, but for motion. Each ripple expands, touches another, fades, like memories, like minutes. Time in water does not tick, it shimmers. It is a visual echo, a soft reimagining of the now. And as you look into that surface, you don't just see the world reflected. You feel it loosen. Your thoughts ripple too, spreading softly outward, carried by the quiet movement of light and wave. Time in outer space. No sun to rise, no ticking clock. Time floats, untethered. In orbit, the rhythms you've always known fall away. Days are measured by systems, not sunrises. Minutes pass in silence, unpunctuated by birdsong or traffic. You drift, both body and mind, in a place where time is defined by movement. Of stars, of stations, of orbits too vast to feel. There is no hurry here, only the soft hum of machinery, the gentle curve of earth below. Time becomes something you wear loosely, like a suit that no longer fits quite the same. You begin to understand that time is not universal. It's a tether to place, to planet, to home, and here, far from it, you float in a different kind of now. The longing of time, apart distance, bends perception. A week apart can feel like years. You count the days, not in numbers, but in the weight of absence. Each morning stretches, each night echoes with silence. The hours become more noticeable when they are empty of presence. Messages come like lifelines, brief but grounding, while the rest of time moves like a heavy tide. In longing, moments don't flow, they linger, they ache. Even joy feels slightly slowed, colored by the quiet pull of someone far away. But longing, too, is proof of connection. The ache marks love's imprint in time. And when reunion finally arrives, all those stretched out seconds collapse into a single breath, a single glance, and the waiting folds quietly into memory. Moonlight changes the hour. Everything moves slower under moonlight, even thoughts. The world is no longer lit with urgency. Instead, silver glows where gold once burned, and in that shift, time eases its stride. Shadows lengthen and soften. Wind moves like whispers across leaves. You speak less, you listen more. The moon doesn't demand your attention. It offers it, gently, with a gaze that's always watching, never rushing. Under its calm light, the day's weight slips away. You become quieter inside, more attuned to subtleties. Time doesn't tick here, it glides, and in its glow, you are reminded that night is not just an end, but a different kind of beginning, a watch passed down through generations. It still ticks, time inherited. The hands move as they did decades ago, marking not just minutes, but memories. Scratches on the glass, the faint scent of old leather, the way it feels in your palm, all tell stories of hands that once held it, wrists that once wore it. This small machine has outlived years, faces, places. It doesn't just keep time, it holds it. You wind it, and with each turn, you connect to someone who once did the same. The tick is familiar, almost familial, steady in its quiet purpose. It reminds you that time is both fleeting and enduring, that though people pass, something of them continues, one measured moment at a time. Moments of awe slow, everything a comet's tail, a newborn's cry. Time holds its breath. Awe interrupts the ordinary. It floods the senses, silences the mind, and expands a single instant into something vast. Your thoughts stop chasing, your body becomes still, and all at once, you're entirely present. These are not moments to analyze or explain. They are to be felt. They remind you that life is not only about the long stretches, but also about the single suspended seconds that shift your perspective. In awe, time does not vanish, it magnifies. It opens its hands and lets you sit within it, wide-eyed, quiet, and alive. The stretch of solitude. In silence you meet time face to face. And it is vast, without conversation or company. The hours unfold differently. You hear the hum of appliances, the sigh of your own breath, the occasional creak of the walls around you. There is nothing to distract from the passing, no tasks to hide in, no words to fill the space. But solitude isn't emptiness, it's a mirror. It shows you your thoughts in their full shape, your emotions without echo. Time stretches not to punish, but to offer you space, and when you sit with it long enough, what once felt too wide becomes calm. You breathe into the quiet, you learn its rhythm, and in that openness, you begin to hear yourself again. Why goodbyes take time? We draw them out because we feel the passing. Time thickens with emotion. The hug lasts a second longer. The final words repeat, softer each time. You linger by the door, in the car, at the platform, anywhere that still holds the fading presence of the one you're about to leave. It's not that you don't want to go, it's that you're aware of the shift, the before and after that's forming. In the act of goodbye, time slows to make room for feeling. It expands so you can hold on just a little more. And when you finally part, it's not with a clean break, but with a thread, stretched, unseen, but still felt. The fold of memory. And time travel memories are time's portal. To remember is to return. A scent, a sound, a certain quality of light. These can lift you out of the now and into a moment's long past, not as a ghost, but as a traveler. In memory, the years between dissolve. You feel the warmth of that old sun, the voice of someone long gone, the shape of a smile that once greeted you. Time folds in on itself, and for a few heartbeats, past and present coexist. The mind doesn't need a machine to revisit what was. It only needs quiet, reflection, and a memory willing to rise. In that fold, time is not lost. It's remembered, relived, and briefly, beautifully, real again. Breath as a measure of time. Inhale, exhale. No clocks, just lungs counting softly. This rhythm has always been with you, steady, patient, present. When the world races, breath invites you back. It does not rush, It marks the passage of time, not in urgency, but in care. One breath to arrive, another to release, a third to settle. Time slows when you let breath lead. You feel the air enter, cool and quiet, and leave, warm and calm. It is the body's lullaby, a reminder that you are here, that now is enough. And though the world may spin quickly outside, within, you are moving at the pace of breath, unhurried, alive, grounded. The final moment, before sleep, everything fades, the world softens, time lets go. Your body relaxes into the mattress, each muscle releasing its grip on the day. Sounds blur, thoughts drift, and the edges of the room grow dim. This moment is neither waking nor dreaming. It is the hush between. The last flickers of awareness pass like fireflies, brief, beautiful, gone. You may think a thought, then forget it midway. You may hear something, then wonder if you imagined it. Here, time no longer ticks. It breathes, it sighs, it waits for you to surrender. And as you do, you fall not into darkness, but into softness, into the timelessness of sleep. You, timeless among the stars. Above you, starlight that began its journey before you were born. And yet here it is, arriving now, just in time for sleep. Light travels with infinite patience. It crosses the black sea of space, passing galaxies and dust, just to reach your eyes. That glow is ancient. It has seen the rise of planets, the birth of suns, the quiet drift of cosmic clouds, and now it finds you here, quiet, small, and still. Time stretches unimaginably across the sky, yet in this moment it feels intimate. You are not lost in the vastness. You are cradled by it, wrapped in a light that has always been coming, always meant to arrive, just in time.